At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Grave Tone.
Welcome to Grave Tone Podcast, where horror comes to life in every form it takes. I'm Meaghan.
And I'm Arthur.
And okay, what are we doing?
We are starting a new series.
Yes.
Our first series.
Everything at this point is just like a let's try it and see how we like it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
we're
everything.
Testing the waters. It's fine. We'll see how the audience reacts. We'll see how we like it.
Like how we like the vibe of it. And we were kind of talking about like what would be like a fun thing to do to like, I guess, re-examine like horror that we consumed as a younger person, like as a child, essentially.
And then we were like, what about movies that traumatized us?
Yeah.
And this is the series.
And so we kind of came up with this. So this is going to be we're going to just periodically have episodes like this. And this is just going to be some form of like horror that traumatized me in my childhood. Like,
yep.
Here we are.
This is why I love horror now. This is what it is.
Yeah, like the stuff that you watched when you were a kid that you were like 10 and you were like, oh, I should not have watched that movie.
And then it just lives in your mind forever.
It stays there forever. Yep. That's it. So we're kicking it off with our first episode of that this week. And so just because we were talking about watching this movie, Dealer's Choice, Arthur is going first in this new series.
Let's examine this.
Huzzah.
Great.
And so... So we're talking about, okay, so you can introduce it because we're going to be talking about that's one of your sort of traumatic film experiences from your childhood.
Exactly. So you know what? Since we're starting a series and everything, so make sure to follow us on all our socials at Gravetone Pod. Mm-hmm. Literally every single account in social media.
They're all Gravetone Pod, yeah.
Yeah, they're all Gravetone Pod, so do that to, kind of like find out what the hell are movies that
what our childhood trauma is. Just in film.
Fun for everyone and maybe not me. But anyways, so what we are starting with is a very old sci-fi horror movie. Mm-hmm. I love sci-fi. I love horror, obviously.
I think you've said that every second episode, and we're like barely 10 episodes into this podcast.
I'm going to keep saying it. I love sci-fi. I love horror. And I don't know or I don't remember when I watched this, but I was pretty young. It was after I was 9. But it was before I was like 15. So it was something around that age. I was like 12.
Okay.
I want to say I'm 12.
Okay. Oh, really? That's older than I thought it would be when you watched this as well.
I think so. Anyways, because I feel like it was one of those movies that was on TV. So the movie is Screamers from 1995. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I wonder if anybody's going to remember this when they come across this episode, if they're just like, oh, shit, I remember that movie.
It's, you know what? We just watched it again. Mm-hmm. I still like it, even though I see it with very different eyes now.
Yeah, I bet.
And a different look at it from what I remember, because I don't think I've seen it since, or maybe once again.
The additional funny caveat to this whole thing is that I've never watched this movie before.
It's great.
So this was a first-time watch-through experience for me.
Yeah. So the movie is Screamers from 1995. It's a sci-fi horror. Right now, it is at 6.3 on IMDb, 27 Rotten Tomatoes, which is way too low. What the hell is this? Okay, well, Popcorn Meter is 45, so at least that's better. 6.3 on IMDb, like I said, which I find is a better score. Anyways, it follows a commander, Joe Hendrickson, who's Peter Weller.
Played by Peter Weller, RoboCop everybody.
Hello.
Yeah.
He's so cool. Seriously, he's working way too much in this movie. Like, he was way too good for this.
He's giving like 125% in this movie. Maybe Warren's like 70%.
I know. And anyways, it follows him and a new recruit, Ace Jefferson, played by Andy Lauer, set across the surface of Sirius 6B, where they hope to settle a violent labor dispute at a remote mining outpost. After going too far to turn back, they find the desert riddled with deadly autonomous mobile swords, or screamers as they're known in this world, essentially.
They're little robots.
Yeah. Created to protect the mines, these borrowing weapons have learned to replicate themselves. To make matters worse, a recent generation of screamers can consume humanoid form.
I
so that's
feel
kind
like
of like
Okay, I feel like this brief synopsis overview that you just provided was clearer than the movie makes it out to be.
Yes.
Okay, so a couple of little things on my end because I was also just like looking at some stuff while we were watching it. So, fun fact: Andy Lauer, who plays the character of Jefferson,
Yeah.
is as well as being an actor and a filmmaker. I believe he's like a director and things as well.
Cool.
He is also the president and CEO of a nonprofit called Real Aid, which is an organization that's made up of different filmmakers in the Hollywood community. They produce low to no cost promotional videos for other nonprofit organizations
Okay.
and then they're able to use those in order to fundraise and create public awareness. So they will support organizations that are nonprofits that are maybe working in different charitable endeavors in order to help them with that. And these filmmakers will produce, essentially what they do is they produce these films or these like promotional videos for no cost to the nonprofit with whom they're doing business, essentially.
That's pretty
Which
cool.
is a pretty cool
I like
endeavor.
that. That's very
The
good.
nonprofit that he has is called Real Aid, REEL Aid. And I think that's pretty cool. So good
All
for
right.
him. I think that's really fun.
Hey, why not?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, so back to the movie. Essentially, when I've seen it, like I said, I was, I don't know, anywhere between 11 and 13 years old, I guess. It was definitely one of those movies that is like on television because, you know, it was 1995. And when I was 11, 12, it was like 2002 or 3, whatever. I don't know. I'm not mathing right now. We had
It
a
would have
couple
been
of
like
drinks. Doesn't matter.
it would have been like 2000, 2001-ish.
Sure. And so, I mean, I was obviously on TV. I watched it.
Yeah.
And it.
Yeah, we didn't have cable, guys. Come on now.
No, not back in the days. I've seen it and it freaked me out mainly because of the ending,
That is so
which
funny.
we'll talk about. But also just kind of like the whole general vibe of things because like
God.
the whole movie is that there's those autonomous swords, right?
Yes.
That we are introduced at the beginning and they're just basically kind of like sand creatures that are robots.
Okay, when we started this movie, I thought we were watching Tremors. I was like, is this like Space
Yeah,
Tremors?
kinda.
This feels like Space
Yeah,
Tremors.
it kinda
and
was. I
then
get it.
they turned out to be like little robotic lizard-looking things, and I was
With
like,
saws
oh,
instead of heads, so they
never
kill
mind.
you.
Yeah.
So that's how they are. And then the whole thing is that, like I just mentioned in the synopsis, is that they take humanoid form. So now there's different types of it. And some of them are kind of like, you know, a little boy that is just like, can talk to you in a very simple sentence. And he's like, oh, please take me with you. Please
Little
take me
boy
with
called David.
you. The little boy called David. It's freaky as fuck.
Ew, David.
And then there's other things, right, that come about. Anyways, if you haven't seen the movie, check it out. If not, keep listening because we're going to be talking about spoilers right now.
You've been warned. Spoilers ahead.
And so, as we just mentioned, spoilers alert, right? I mean, it's a movie from 1995. I don't think that anyone cares.
I mean, like we're gonna do
but-
it. I think we'll be doing this, just giving a general spoiler overview or alert of some sort in
Yeah.
every episode in which we're talking about a movie in
course.
general. But I'm not gonna lie, this is a film from 1995.
So it doesn't really matter.
So
like-
if you just feel like listening, I don't care. Like it did not just come out. I think we're
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
more
It's
we're more
fine.
serious about it. We have been more serious about it in the episodes where we've covered new releases.
Yeah, like weapons and stuff that we
Like when
spoke
we talked about
recently,
weapons, and I know what
yeah.
you did last summer and everything, like Meaghan 2.0, like those, like we've actually given like a proper spoiler warning. I kind of don't care
Yeah,
about this.
That one's fine. So, anyways,
Yeah.
what I was saying is that there's different types. One of them is like, you know, those little lizards with chainsaws basically for their heads. The other one is a little boy that can talk very simple sentences. There's a different type that is like a wounded soldier that kind of like infiltrates your team or your ranks.
It's
your
an
bunker.
adult. The adult is the scariest one,
and
in
then
my
like
opinion.
he acts very normal, but then at the end you realize that his whole thing is to sow doubt in between your team members
Yeah.
so that you can kind of kill each other, or you know he has a reason to kill one of your teams.
Does he act normal, or does he act like a sociopath? Because that's certainly how
He
it
acts
felt
like a sociopath
in the film.
That is correct. Also, he is also played by Roy Dupuis, which is, we were talking about this guy, and he was like pretty good and big, I guess, in the 90s, and then he just
In 90s into
disappeared.
early aughts. He's still
Yeah.
doing stuff now. So actually, I
Really?
was, so I was taking a look at something because I was really curious about it. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what the heck is going on? So as recently as actually 2024, now Roy Dupuis, whatever, he's a French-Canadian actor anyway. And we're used to it because we've seen him in a lot of stuff
Yes.
that's based in Canada, of course, because he's quite famous here.
Sure.
Anyway, so we've seen him like, as different characters here and stuff like that, this was like a funny little offshoot for him to play like more of a villainous character than he generally does. But as recently actually as 2024, I did not know this. There's a film that came out called Rumors, which is a comedy horror film, actually, that stars Cate Blanchett. Who knew?
Sure.
And he's actually in this film. Charles Dance, Alicia Vikander. Like, there are quite a few people in this film. It's a comedy horror film that is something to do, essentially, is my understanding, as some sort of devolvement of a G7 summit. So multiple world leaders are meeting at the G7, and then something occurs in like a sort of silly horror kind of way, essentially, that they have to deal with. And so Roy Dupuis plays the Canadian Prime Minister in that film.
That is hilarious.
Which is very funny.
Wow.
And would almost be fitting. He could be the Prime Minister.
Yeah, whatever. We're not too serious about politics here, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
We our very recently previous PM just went apparently on a date with Katy Perry recently, so like who knows,
whatever,
right?
man. And
Listen,
he was also a boxer back in the day.
it's
So
just
really,
the Wild West
it's
over
the Wild
here.
West over here. Anyways, doesn't matter.
It's okay. We've got somebody pretty serious in office right now.
Yeah. Anyways, so he's played by Roy Dupuis, one of those type 2 ones that is kind of like creepy and weird. And then there is even more advanced ones that is basically a type 4, I guess. Which
I guess she's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think so. And like she's a woman and she has feelings.
Her name is
and-
Jessica.
Yeah, and she can bleed and she can like form emotional attachments to the main character, Peter Weller's character.
Peter Weller's
right?
character, who plays, that's it, Joseph Henriksen.
That's
who's
exactly who's the main
lead.
character, was the commander and stuff. And so like they're kind of like the last ones left after they figure out who that basically everyone around him is a robot except the people who actually died that weren't.
I just assumed by the end of the movie, I was like, everybody's a robot.
Yeah, exactly.
Except the people who are already dead. Anyway.
And there is like a weird love thing that happens for absolutely no reason, and Meaghan was just dying of laughter when it actually happened, and I had to wait. I'm like, just give this movie 10-15 minutes, you'll understand where it's coming from.
I forgot that in the 80s, maybe sort of, even the 80s actually made more sense. We had a period of time in the 90s
Yeah, of course it was
in
the
which
90s.
screenwriting became this weird thing, and particularly in, like, I know that Screamers classifies as like sci-fi horror. However, there's an action element to the film as well, and there became some sort of pattern, I guess, in these types of films in which we shoehorned romantic subplots in, and this happened in multiple movies. This happened everywhere.
Yes.
And I feel like in science fiction, it's really apparent how much they've like just shoved it into the script because there's no need for it. There's no need,
but there's no time to develop this whole romantic subplot.
And especially in like a sci-fi action
That's what I'm
horror
saying.
film, there's so rarely, like you said, time, but also a need to have this subplot in there in the first place. I do not care if there's a romantic subplot in this film. It's so unnecessary, and it's so uncomfortable to watch because of it.
To be fair, you have to agree with me that in this case, it was part of the story and how this screamer is.
Kind of.
Because
I'm gonna give
just started from nowhere.
I'm going to give you like 40% of a sort of. No.
Come on.
No, it didn't even in considering that, like, yeah, she's like a fembot from Austin Powers, essentially. And she is supposed to, that's it, because he, for some reason, develops feelings for her. There's barely been any dialogue between these characters.
From him to her, I 100% agree. It makes no
It's
sense.
insane.
He has absolutely no need to have any kind of romantic attachments to him, to her.
No.
But from her to him, it does make sense because, like I mentioned you in the movie, the only time when it actually starts and like that's the first time they make out or whatever it is when he says that he has a plan to get off the planet, which is her mission to be like, okay, I can get off, go to another planet and like just kill everyone there.
Okay. I feel like you've given this more thought than the screenwriters did. Side note, I need to caveat this. Okay, so the original script for this film was written by, oh, no big deal, just written by Dan O'Bannon. And if that name does not sound familiar to you, let me just get you up to speed. Dan O'Bannon wrote the original script for Alien from 1979, and he also wrote the script for Total Recall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
another Philip K. Dick
Yes,
adaptation.
exactly. I was just going to say, because this is also a short story.
His
from Philip K. Dick.
1953 short story titled Second Variety.
Yeah, exactly.
So Dan O'Bannon wrote both of those scripts. He also worked in doing some, I believe he was like essentially like an early style like VFX artist. He worked on Star Wars and a couple of other films as well, and did some of like the visual effects, I think, for those films, which is very cool. Earlier when digital effects were just becoming a thing. And he would also go on to do like a little bit more like writing and directing and things like that as well. So it turns out that Dan O'Bannon wrote the first draft of this script that was eventually optioned and picked up.
Okay.
However, it was then passed off to a person by the name of Miguel Tejada Flores, who did an entire rewrite of the script. And Dan O'Bannon did not know that the film had been made.
No way.
Until he was sent, I think, by someone. Essentially, he was sent like a notice by someone that he was getting a screenwriting credit on the film because he had written the original script.
Of course, and
he maintains, I think, that like the general plot and characters were the same. However much of the dialogue had been changed from his original script that he had written, and I don't know, but it kind of shows when you're watching the movie. Because, like, if you've seen Alien and you've seen, like, Total Recall's a really popular film.
Yes, of course.
Like, if you've seen these things, you're kind of like, so this man knows how to write dialogue between characters, right? Like, much of the conversation and things that happen in Alien is very different than the interactions and conversation between characters and screamers. Let's be real.
Come on. There's some really good quotes. Like, the guy said it a couple of times. The main character was, like, referencing his ally there, Jefferson. He was like, Jefferson, you must be confusing me with someone who gives a shit. Come on, that's hilarious.
I mean, sure, but not when you use it more than once.
Well, it was like once or twice.
Oh my god. And like Roy or Rodriguez,
Yes.
a couple of times his character says some lines that you're just like, where he's like, you know, like when he says he's just like, it's never hard enough. What is that line? He licks a knife at some point
He says it's never sharp enough.
It's never sharp enough.
Yeah,
and I was like, I need to leave the room.
Come on, that's so funny.
No, that made my soul leave my body. I was like, I need to get up and walk away. You know when things make you like itchy?
Yeah, I get it.
It was like that.
That was great. You want to know another funny thing since we're kind of like ripping this movie apart?
Yeah, sure, tell me.
So the original story, like we said, it's a short story by Philip K. Dick.
Extremely prolific
yes.
sci-fi author, by the way.
Actually, by the way, yeah, it's not crap.
Do
right?
Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, like which became Blade Runner, by the way, like just as like context for people.
Yeah.
I feel like we grew up in a time where for some reason we grew up in the 90s, but I feel like everybody in the 90s wound up watching films from 10 years prior because that's what you did at the time. Now I feel like that doesn't happen as much.
Yeah.
But I feel like when we were kids, you watched what was on TV, and what was on TV were things from a decade earlier. So we just all wound up watching these movies
because it took like 6 years for a movie to arrive
on television, from the time that it was in theaters.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
It's not like now. It's like 2 months and it's on VOD. Anyways, whatever. So in the original story by Philip K. Dick, the plot takes place on Earth instead of Sirius B, which is that planet, right?
Sirius, like Sirius Black, is the spelling. Just as a heads up.
Okay.
People are gonna understand it if I say that.
Originally, screamers were developed by American troops hiding on the moon to destroy the Russians after...
Of course, it's Cold War said. It was
after
1953.
the Soviet Union had completely wiped out the United States.
Yep, that's it. 1953.
It makes sense, right?
That tracks. Yep.
That's it. Exactly. Makes sense. Also, in the early version of the screenplay, because you were just talking about it, right? The title was Claw, in reference to the villainous Robert.
Nope.
I cannot.
You'll get it.
Today. Robots,
which
were called claws.
I wasn't sure we were talking
and they were also called claws in the original story.
Okay, so they're called claws in the short story.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Instead of screamers.
Okay, got it.
Anyways, yeah. So
is that like I wonder if that's an element that they added for the film, that high pitched like noise that they
probably.
make.
Yeah, it would make sense. But yeah, so that's kind of a little bit about the story. Anyways, ham-fisted storylines which were
Terrible.
unnecessary, but also kind of make sense from one to the other, but not from the main character to the woman.
No, not at all. Not okay. So so Henriksen's character towards, I'm sorry, her name is Jessica Hansen.
Yes.
Is the character's name that's provided. It does not make sense. So whatever. If we go with exactly what you're saying, where he says we can get off the planet, and
That's what it is,
her
man.
she's a robot, so her reaction is aha, must glom on to this hero, whatever it is, and tell him I'm in love with him, basically. That does make sense. But from his end of things,
I know.
these characters have shared maybe 30 seconds of dialogue in the entire film. And I was like, this is stupid, and I hate it. I hated it so much.
I mean, yeah, look, it's ham-fisted
It's so bad.
love stuff anyways, whatever.
So bad.
So after this happens, he was like, oh, we can get off this planet.
Yeah.
And anyways, so they go to this kind of like secret bunker that is hidden in between some rock walls, and there's a spaceship that is only made for one person, and
There's always one bloody seat in the spaceship.
only one seat, and that's kind of like the thing that can take them off planet. And then he discovers that she's also actually a robot, because there is another copy of her that comes around and tries to take the place. Anyways, doesn't matter. He leaves the planet. He's actually able to leave.
Yes.
And I guess what I didn't mention is that with David, the little boy who just kind of like can say basic phrases and is one of the types, he has a little teddy bear, and it seems like it is nothing serious.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
But he throws that teddy bear onto the ship, the little spaceship that takes him to San Francisco. That place is very specific, but anyways.
It's because we saw the fake San Francisco on Sirius B earlier,
exactly,
so they replicated it, I guess.
And he like takes off his device that is supposed to detect the little screamers around him, and the teddy bear starts to move.
It's so cute.
And that freaked me the fuck out.
It's so cute.
I swear to God,
were you thinking that all your toys were going to come to life after you watched this movie?
That is legit why I did not have stuffed toys as a kid. I had plastic toys.
Yes.
I had little cars and little action figures, whatever it is. I did not have stuffies because that shit freaked me out. And I still remember it. Yo, it's been like 20 something odd years later, and I still remember this.
This is hilarious. I love this stuff that just like that happens to you as a child, that like as an adult you're like, why the hell did this freak me out? The teddy bear just moves its arm and its little head, and it's like a little brown stuffy, and you're like, oh baby, and then the movie ends.
It's the implications of it that the toys are this fifth type, and they will kill you in your sleep.
Well, so according to the different varieties that exist online of like the different quote unquote types of screamers.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's it. So you've got the original rounded main chip, which is the little lizard, whatever the fuck they're things. Revised, which is the original ones with software upgrades.
Sure.
So type 1 with legs and tail.
Okay,
the one that we really see.
Yes,
right?
That's the one.
Type 2, male cyborg, which is like Becker, so Roy Dupree's character, for
the one
instance.
that like infiltrates and stuff.
Correct.
Yes,
that's it. Who's like your quote-unquote wounded soldier or
that's
whatever.
a
You're
wounded soldier. He's
infiltrator.
like,
You're
help me.
infiltrator. He's your
Whatever,
spy,
that's
really.
it.
So Cold War type story. That does make sense.
That makes sense.
Right? Type 3, which is the child cyborg, which is nicknamed David.
Yeah, which
who's
is,
the
you know
little
what's
kid.
funny is that the actual name of the full David cyborg is David Edward Deering.
Why does it have a whole name?
Literally the only reason is because it spells DED, which is dead.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
That's the only reason.
Okay. And then you've got 2 others, which are type unknown. So the female cyborg, nicknamed Jessica.
Sure.
And other type unknown, David's teddy bear.
That is fucked. Yo, man.
It's because it's creepy. In like it's not in a sentient like object, right? It's a teddy bear. Sure. It's supposed to be.
That's not right. I don't like it.
This for you was like if you imagine Toy Story as a horror film.
Exactly. But think about that, right? You're like 11, 12 years old. You watch this. You're like, holy shit. This is scary. I understand everything that happened, but also toys can kill you. What the fuck?
Can you imagine how you would have felt if you'd watched Child's Play when you were young?
No.
I did. Maybe that'll be an episode we cover at some point.
Next episode.
Yeah, maybe that'll be an episode we cover at some point. We were talking about this. I'm going to need to make like a list of the ones that
100%.
of the films that like I watched when I was younger and actually had like kind of an effect on me. Whether or not they were good doesn't really come into play.
Matter,
let's be real. It more has to do with like, did you remember them? And are these ones that you watched pretty early on to a degree that you're like, when you watch them now, you're like, wow, these had some adult themes in them.
Yeah.
Why was I watching this movie? But we all did it. I think we were the last generation that did that, but we all did it.
That's it. I have at least a couple of movies in my head. I'm like, yep,
Yeah,
that.
that you remember them.
Losing my head perpetually.
This was hilarious to watch. It's also very fun.
What's your take on from your perspective? Because you haven't seen it before
No,
ever.
no.
And we're in 2025. You're watching this. This is a whole
Like
this is like
30 years
30
later.
years of difference here.
Yeah. So, I mean, my main takeaways from this are that no offense to the rewrites, but I don't know what the original dialogue was, but the dialogue in this movie's terrible. Oh, it's so bad. I like the special effects are 1995 special
like
effects.
95,
So
hey,
like
man,
part of me doesn't
it's
want to
dated,
comment
that's
on
just
them.
what
Like
it is.
it looks of its era,
mean,
which
look,
is whatever, but
You're also not the only person to say this because it's really funny. I found this quote for Entertainment Tonight, right? When Peter Weller visited and kind of had like a little question or cameo, or anyways, whatever.
Yes.
He was talking about the movie, right? And he's usually technically a private actor, but when he was asked about the movie, he literally replied, and I quote, "He is paid and turns up and says the lines, 'That is all,'" end quote. That is his
Good for
general
him.
description.
good for Peter Weller.
Movie.
Good for Peter Weller. You know what?
He's a high caliber actor. I have to say,
He
like,
is, you know, no, like genuinely, actually, he gives like, for what he's working with, he gives a pretty decent performance.
Yep.
And like everybody remembers RoboCop. He has also had
yeah.
like recurring roles in more recent years.
Yeah, you were saying he was
in
like
Dexter.
directing pretty cool
Yeah,
stuff.
he had a recurring role for a period of time in Dexter. He had one in Sons of Anarchy as well. And he's also directed multiple episodes of multiple different television
big-
shows,
big
like
television
quite big
shows,
TV shows,
yeah.
like Justified. There were multiple different ones he's done.
That's cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Very interesting. Very interesting career. Also has a PhD in Italian Renaissance art history from UCLA, which I think is
Yeah,
fascinating. So
really cool.
it's very funny what people's sort of other interests are when you only know them as like, oh, an actor. They do have other things that are of interest to them normally, right? Yeah, I don't. Okay. So I guess my takeaways. This was ridiculous. It's to me also it's funny because I understand how it's classified the way that it is, but I guess from a 2025 perspective, this feels more sci-fi than sci-fi horror.
Yeah, I guess.
You know?
I mean, it's lighter on the horror, but there's a
definitely.
lot of aspects.
There
to
are.
it.
There's
Don't
like
get me wrong. Psychological horror. There's a couple of good kills.
There are certain aspects of it, but I do find overall for me this kind of siphons into the more direct science fiction category.
Yeah, that's just because we expect horror right now to be like bloody and gory and crazy.
Or just, I don't know, more effective, I guess, to a degree, right? But the writing is very different now than it used to be. And also just the fun little extra things. This is a film that was shot entirely in Canada. There were Canadian actors in the film, and it was
in the winter, yo.
Correct,
it was shot from November
to February.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeesh.
Of 1994 to 1995.
That's rough.
It's rough.
Yes.
And they're
This film-
actually in real snow.
Oh God, yeah.
And you can actually see it.
Yeah.
And like people are cold, man.
Yeah, that's it.
It's cold in Canada between those months. It's the worst months of the year.
Yeah, so this film was shot in Quebec. We live in Quebec, so we're used to the winters here and stuff anyway. And yeah, there are, I mean, like a lot of it is like, obviously there are a lot of matte paintings in the background, a lot of sets that were used because it's a sci-fi film. So it's not meant to look like an actual place. However, there were portions of the film that were shot at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, which still exists to this day. It's falling to pieces, but it still exists to this day. And you can actually, as people who are like aware of what it looks like in there, you can tell when they were filming
100%.
those scenes. We were like, I think I spotted it, and I was like, Olympic Stadium, Olympic Stadium, there it is. So like, there are some aspects that are like fun that way and interesting to watch. And I will say, like, for all I'm shitting all over the dialogue, like it made me laugh out loud a few times because it was very terrible.
I mean, look, you take a movie that is 30 years old and you plop it into 2025, which you have completely different expectations.
Very much.
And everything from movies right now, it will be funny.
It's definitely going to make you laugh for sure. So
even me, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is not what I remember when
because that's another thing for you too. Like
ago.
when it's like a rewatch, you're like, I have a different feeling now than I used to.
100%.
But I didn't hate it. Like it was fine. Would I watch it again? Probably not.
Probably not, but it's not bad, right?
No,
like,
but it was like
piece of shit.
No, but it was like it was funny for what it was, and I guess like entertaining for the period of time during which we watched it, basically.
I feel like it's one of those movies that is it just needs a couple of little tweaks here and there to actually make it pretty good.
I think I've
You know
seen.
what
I think, you know what, when I was just like taking a look through like some trivia and different
Yeah.
like notes and things about the film and the filmmaking process and stuff like that. I noticed a few people online who were like, "This movie is missing like 3 elements to be a really great
That's it.
film," and I think
Exactly.
that's probably true. I think the base of it, like the idea is interesting. I mean, like Philip K. Dick's a renowned author, and so I'm sure that that's it. If you take his story to adapt and stuff like that, like there are really good ideas within it, and so if you maybe adjusted a few aspects of things, it could have been probably like a really good film, and maybe like a less forgotten one and much more celebrated one that it actually is now.
That's fair. So you know what? I think you're right. I've also seen during my research that a lot of people have said that like it's just missing a little
Just
bit
a
of
couple
that
of
stuff
things.
that would have made it better. I guess the numbers speak for itself because I just literally just saw this and I'm sad, but I'm also laughing about it. So the budget for the movie was 20 mil, which in 1995 is
That's a lot.
that's a good amount of
That's
money.
a big budget.
Right? US and Canada, it did 5.7 mil.
Fucking hell.
Opening weekend was 2.9, so basically 3 mil. And worldwide, it basically did 5.7 because I don't think they released it that far.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so those
I
numbers are
know.
not great.
No, those are bad. I don't know if they were 1995 bad, but they're bad for now.
Now,
anyway.
I mean, regardless, it cost 20 mil. It made
Yeah, agreed.
6.
Yeah, no, it lost
it's
money.
It's a complete loss.
Yeah, I lost money for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. So.
Oh. Okay.
Oh,
well,
so
listen.
that is my movie that traumatized me as a
Woo!
child because, you know, teddy bears are creepy now, and that's why I don't have stuffies or ever had them.
I had a ton growing up.
That's the
I still have some
problem.
of them. Anyway, so that's like that's our first foray into childhood horror trauma. Hooray! Hooray! We're just gonna keep doing this for fun from time to time. I think when we feel like doing an episode of these, we'll keep coming at you with
You
some
know
of
what? Maybe
them.
it's a nice way to psychologically have a session.
Or just remind
for
some
each other.
people maybe of films that they saw when they were kids. You know
100%.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
for all of us to kind of like relate to each other and be like, oh my God, yes, I remember that. Yeah. It's
Exactly.
really
So,
fun.
like, seriously, if you've seen this movie, let us know in the
Oh my
comments.
God, yeah.
I would love to get more fans
Yeah.
of this movie to think.
Because
you
like
know,
until you started telling me about this film, I had
Oh, you
never
had
heard
no
of it
idea that
before.
existed.
No,
Yeah, exactly. Of course,
No.
because it didn't make any money.
not at all.
It's
Yeah,
a
exactly. So how
forgotten
would I have
movie.
known? Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. So I think we'll definitely be, we'll definitely be checking out some more of our childhood trauma films as time
Yeah, I
goes
feel
on.
like it's gonna be one of those like very obscure segments that people are gonna be like, "What? This movie
What the hell
exists?"
was?
There's like 7 people who watched it.
I
you
think it's
know
gonna be
what I mean?
great. Anyway, obviously, you know, as we're coming at you with all this fun childhood trauma of ours, feel free to check out and follow us on all of our socials. Like we mentioned, you know, every social, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, just search for Gravetone Pod,
Yeah.
and that's where you'll find us over there. But until next week, guys, stay scared and stay tuned.
Ciao, guys.